Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. The guy opposite me is Tim, and today is a live call-in show, and this is one of our favorite projects that we do on Second Legacy, so thank you for tuning in. If you want to be on the show and take part in what you're about to see, there's a Google form right down there in the description box. We'd love to have you on schedule, see if we can make it work, and have a conversation with you, and that would be something that would be really cool to see where the Second Amendment stands amongst the population. But now make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on to help the channel grow. And now, we're going to say a quick word from our sponsor, LAS Concealment, and then we're going to get to this call. And the content today is brought to you by LAS Concealment. And if you're in the market for a holster for your favorite freedom tool, LAS Concealment is worth a look. They have everything that you could imagine, all molded from Kydex to your said freedom tool. Everything is fit directly to that model for a superior comfort and safety. They have inside and outside the waistband options, multiple designs, all sorts of different colors, and they are tested by the world's most elite special forces. Make sure you check it out. There's a link in the description box below, and thank you so much to LAS Concealment for making this content possible. All right, so again, thank you so much to LAS Concealment. Let's get into our call today. Jordan, thank you so much for calling in, man. What you got for us? Hit us.
How you doing, guys? I just want to say that I'm from New Jersey, and I grew up thinking that all guns were bad and the only people that had them were criminals or cops. And it was only until I came to the free state of Kansas where I realized that that wasn't the case. It just seems like to me, it seems like the radicalization of the gun controllers is kind of similar to how there were radicalized Muslims who always took their beliefs to a higher level. And it made me realize that there is a potential conspiracy between the Democrats and the people who want to control guns. And it just makes it seem like that it's not all of the people who want to control guns, but they're being manipulated. And it's so crazy to think that people are that naive and that gullible to be able to be controlled that way.
Yeah, I mean, so you bring up an interesting point. This is something that I actually say on my channel a lot myself, is every single Democrat is not a full-on gun controller. However, when the Democratic Party, particularly the progressive far left and the gun control narrative and all of the big pushes start to line up, there is a bit of a inclination to say, you know what, they're saying it, so it must be a good thing. I'm going to follow along. I mean, we've seen that a lot throughout history. But I think you're onto something. Tim, you want to jump in here real quick and kind of start bouncing ideas off?
Yeah, so it is. So what we're going to find is there's really two different primary cultures within the United States. We have the city culture, and then we have the rural culture, right? Mm-hmm. So folks that live out in the country in the rural areas, they grow up around guns. They use them for hunting and self-defense, and they keep them in their trucks and their cars, and they're just around them. They've always known life with them. They're not scared of them. They don't view them as anything other than a simple tool, no different than they would view a hammer, or a screwdriver, or a set of car keys. So then you have the folks in the city that are isolated from firearms. Up until recent times, years ago, a few decades ago, a lot of the major cities had outright bans on gun ownership, Chicago being one of them, until the Supreme Courts ended that practice. But you had the cities where people were, shielded from gun ownership, and then they were propagandized in public schools with taxpayer dollars, being convinced that you don't need your rights, you don't need guns, guns are bad, people that own guns are bad people. And that's where you get this divide between these two groups of folks within the United States. And so you stepped outside of that bubble of propaganda, and you experienced the world for yourself, and you realized, oh my gosh, I've been lied to all these years. And that's the truth of it. And even if you take a look at statistics, they're going to lie to you with statistics. And they're going to make it look like, firearms are the most common cause of death of children. No, actually, it's not. That would be That's abortion to the tune of about 800,000+ deaths a year. And it's not about saving children's lives, because they're fine with, ending them prematurely in the womb, but they're claiming that they want to save them by banning guns. So there's hypocrisy throughout their arguments. And really, propaganda is a very, very powerful tool. And it's been used successfully throughout history. And it's being used against Americans right now to willingly surrender their rights, which half of the country is willing to do, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it's all inside. Like, the manipulation is everywhere. They put kids in front of tablets and TVs, but all of that manipulation is in those TV shows. You can't watch a TV show or a YouTube video or whatever without some kind of propaganda in it saying, oh, guns are bad, this guy shouldn't have a gun, good guys with guns don't exist. It's like their manipulation goes so deep into culture, it's ridiculous.
Well, so what you're hitting on is something very fascinating. That's actually the strongest position of the left, is the cultural element. So I mean, think about it. The areas they control, they dove into the Hollywood element really hard. They dove into the news media really hard, and now they're just expanding into children books, children entertainment, like you said, tablets, all these different pieces. But the one thing that's really at least encouraging to me is there is pushback on that. I think that we're experiencing something right now where the middle of the country, the rural, the sub-rural, kind of the suburban areas, those areas are kind of picking up what's happening. I mean, like, you're seeing a lot of pushback across the board, but that really gets back down to the main point, how you fix this. The way you fix this is, you sound like a guy on the younger end of the age spectrum. So you have to, 29, yep. So that's about the age where people start going, wait a minute, hold on a second, that doesn't jive. I mean, even your own experience, when you're talking the way you were raised, where you're saying like guns are bad, guns are evil, good guys have guns and that's cops, and bad guys have guns and that's criminals, no one else in between. That's all about setting a narrative and setting an expectation to where it's outside the norm for gun ownership, so that they could easily more curtail things off of that. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when I was a kid, we played with toy guns. They made tons of toy guns. You could go into any gas station on a road trip and they have little wooden toy guns hanging there that shot rubber bands. And then you go into any toy store and there was just entire sections dedicated to toy guns. Yep. Then you fast forward to me taking my oldest son to a toy store about a decade ago to find him a toy gun. And it was called Toys R Us, and it was in a suburb of Chicago, quite a ways out of Chicago, but definitely a suburb. And they did not have a single toy gun anywhere in Toys R Us. And if you're familiar with that franchise, it's a massive toy store. And the lady, when I inquired about toy guns, looked at me like I had, a digit growing out of my forehead. and I was like, wow, this is just unbelievable. Then you go so far as to take a look at what Steven Spielberg did with E.T., a movie that came out when I was a child.
Yep.
He went back and took all the guns out of the movie, re-edited it, re-released it, and replaced all the guns with things like radios and things like that. And now, I think he actually said later he regretted doing that, but that's what happens with propaganda. That's what happens when culture tries to steer, or pop culture tries to steer the culture of a country. You have people that are political activists that are going out there and attacking us through movies and music and through school and any place they can get a hook into the youth, because that's the key. People like me aren't going to change my mind. You're never going to convince me to surrender my rights, but my children, if you can get them into a room where I'm not present and you can propagandize them, you can then turn them against what I believe. And then when they go out and they have their children, it's this cascading effect of incrementalism that I've talked about many times, that ultimately they're playing the long game. We tend to play a short game. We focus on bills that are being proposed and we have to stop this bill. But the anti-gunners are looking 50 years down the road, and they're winning in that regard. But we're winning at the here and now, but they play a much better long game than we do, and we need to learn how to do that.
Well, they always have. The progressives have always done that.
Oh, yeah, we're playing too much defense. There's no offense. We are trying to defend everything they throw at us instead of actually just going for the offensive and getting our rights back that were taken from us, and trying to submit into laws that they the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed, but they just skip right on past that part. But that's the one thing that's in there that says, hey, you can't do this, but by any means they will do whatever they please until it gets shut down. But the thing is, I know, Tim, you said before that you can't take them to court or sue the certain people that's introducing these bills to be taken to jail because it has set a bad precedent. But at the same time, I wish there was some kind of repercussions where they keep violating our rights. I mean, they're literally rights, and they're still
at a minimum. At a minimum, if somebody violates their oath to protect and defend the Constitution, and they propose a bill that literally takes one of our rights away or multiple rights away, then that person, I don't know if they should go to jail or not, but they should definitely be thrown out of office, because you've proven yourself to be be treasonous. You've purposely gone against the Constitution, and that to me is grounds for impeachment. You should be taken out of office if you do that, because our Constitution and Bill of Rights should be hands off. That's just a basic operating principle that our entire republic is built around, and you don't mess with the foundation, otherwise the entire building collapses.
Hey, Tim, I've been a fan since 2014. I want to say thank you for everything that you do, Braden. I just discovered you last year, and I've been watching ever since. So
Thanks,
keep up the good
man.
work, guys.
Thanks, bud. Later.
Thanks for calling in, Jordan. If you guys like to be part of the show, just follow the link in the video description below. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you guys soon.